Thank you very much, Estella. Well, aside from feeling like an incredible underachiever after hearing that panel, I found that whole conversation incredibly interesting and exciting and insightful. And first, I want to just thank Estella and Dan for that presentation on the work of the RJC. I mean, possibly, I don't know whether it was a bit daunting having me coming down here, and that's like their report card for the 12-month report card for the RJC, and 10 out of 10 if I was the teacher doing the scorecard. So well done. I mean, we and Carolyn Evans and I from Griffith have this conversation a number of times. You cannot move forward unless you know what you've got. You've actually got to have some information from which you move forward. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. So that was great to have that really detailed profile, and perhaps even some of those findings actually surprise some people about where the opportunities are. And I think it was Dan who talked about the Gold Coast potentially being known. You talk about tourism and construction, and you've got a list of sectors here which perhaps mightn't have come up on the top 5 if any people in this room had wanted to think about those. And so I think it's really important to really be very clear on who you are and who you could be going forward. But I think what the couple of the couple of real insights I got here was the willingness to just turn things on their head, and even having a conversation which is about that. And as I travel across the state and people are talking to me about how desperate they are for workers, and about conscious that there are so many emerging industries but don't even know what they all are, the conversation I have most frequently is, you can't actually think the way you've been thinking anymore. If you keep doing what you've been doing and expecting things to change, then you will miss out. And the whole message from today is that we are actually turning things over and standing on our heads and thinking differently. And so whether you are an employer, whether you're a peak body, whether you're an educator, to actually confront that and put yourself outside of where you are and who you are now, that is key, and we've got to do it if we are going to take those opportunities. So we talked about skilling, and we didn't necessarily talk about that traditional pathway of going to TAFE or going to uni. We talked about job-ready skills. We talked about upskilling and cross-skilling. We talked about micro-credentials. We talked about relationships between university and industry, or vocational education and industry. We talked about schools, and I know there are people from the education system here. If I had $1 for every person who said to me to solve their worker shortages, oh, we're just going to go into the schools and we're going to get those kids, I'd be a billionaire, I can tell you. And the poor schools, meanwhile, have got a crowded curriculum and possibly don't understand very much about industry. The fact that you are lifting that up here and saying, okay, we're not all going to crowd the schools. We are actually going to do this in a systematic and organised way, and we are in it as a long game for what we want to achieve. Again, really fantastic thinking. That employer piece about actually being an employer of value, that you are thinking about what you need to do, not about that employee. And we have a really good working relationship with Seek, who they have 12.5 million people using their app every single day. So the level of granularity over what they can tell us about who applies for what jobs, where they come from, what jobs they've had, where they're going, who they are, what their qualifications are, is quite stunning. And they've said to us that all things being equal, and if you're going to be offered 100 grand more than you are now, then you're possibly going to take that regardless. But the values of the employer are the number one reason that they will go to a job or stay in a job. And the majority of people who leave after 3 months in a job, within 3 months, are because of the values of the organisation. So that has to actually be reflected in the way you recruit as well, and about the sort of employee that you need to be. And that was the conversation that was here today. So I think also just that, seeing there was something in the RJC presentation about being a place that people want to go to. I'll tell you, if you shared this conversation today with potential employees and you could articulate what an exciting place the Gold Coast is. We've got the knowledge precinct, but there is so much exciting work going on here that some people have never even heard of, and that's your badge, that's your brand. So you've got everything here, and I tell you, I'm just walking away just really just on the balls of my feet, thinking, I just can't wait to see what you're going to be doing over the next couple of years, which actually leads me back to the RJC and just how important it is, because you've got, just even in this room alone, the collective knowledge, the willingness to be different, to shape the tree. Just here alone, the potential is amazing, let alone right across the Gold Coast, and that collective commitment to doing that. I think it's just so important that we've got this way of connecting everybody. Look, lots of other thoughts, but I think you've created an ecosystem here which is very important, and I want to say congratulations to every single one of you, and please keep doing what you're doing and share it. We've got to share it because we've all got to move forward. So thank you so much. I'm sorry I have to actually hop in the car and head off now, but just an absolutely wonderful event. Thank you so much.